Hello and welcome to Gamers Getting Older.
Where a group of older gamers get together
Talk about the good old days of gaming.
and how times have changed for the better or worse. I'm Brendan.
I'm Steven.
I'm Nick, and we are
Gamers
Getting older.
Wow, that was
Perfect, guys. Perfect.
That was good, but not great.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode of Gamers Getting Older. Today, we're jumping into the time machine and going all the way back to 1986 to talk about the Sega Master System. Additionally, we're going to talk about all the other Sega games or Sega consoles up to the Sega Saturn because we don't really have a whole lot of Sega knowledge.
Doesn't help most of us were, born in the late 80s.
Yeah.
I've never. So you said Sega Master System. I've never even heard of the Sega Master System. Was that before the Sega Genesis?
Yeah, that's before the Sega Genesis. The Master System was really like the original, Sega itself. It had a lot of cool games. I mean, I guess I only played a couple, but I'm sure there's a bunch of really cool ones.
Did it look different than a Sega Genesis, or was it like just a pre-Genesis Genesis?
It looked different. It was more rectangular and much more angular, and the cartridges were much like squarer. And this is the one where all the game boxes, like the game cases you would get, they were all the white ones, like the white design on the outside. It was just like solid white. I'm gonna say white 400 more times. I don't know why I keep saying that word over and over. It was a white box with a black grid line, and then it had like the game name and maybe some art on it. But generally, the boxes were white with black grid lines.
Yeah, I definitely never played the Master System. The controller looks like a Nintendo controller. It's like a square controller with two buttons.
I was going to say, the only thing I ever played was a Genesis at my uncle's house or apartment. Whenever I'd go up to see my grandparents, I'd play a bunch of Sonic and stuff like that. But
oh yeah, I mean Sonic was
the Game Gear. Is that what it was?
Yeah, the Sega Game Gear, the handheld.
Yeah, I had that. I did have that.
See, the Sega, like Sonic was obviously a huge on it, but we were pretty young, when the Sega was in its heyday. So I think we were too young for games like Phantasy Star, Beyond Oasis, things like that. These legitimately good like role playing games that were good in their own right, but I would have rather played Comic Zone because I was way too young to understand an RPG back then.
Yeah, definitely. Because I didn't even know those games came out. Like, I didn't even realize Phantasy Star was on Sega. I think the first thing I ever played on Sega was Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog 1.
Well, the funny thing about Phantasy Star is, so the original Phantasy Star, the one that came out in the late 80s, it came out a few days before the original Final Fantasy. So it immediately competed with Square's Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy overshadowed it. I mean, all the critics loved Phantasy Star. They thought it was a really great RPG, but obviously Final Fantasy, took the market. So, I mean, I would love to see a multiverse where there was no Final Fantasy and Phantasy Star was the only one. Would that be thriving even more so than it is today?
That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's crazy how the timing of a release can really dictate the sales and everything of an entire franchise, just because you happen to launch within a week of something that became just a massive hit.
Yeah, honestly, the old games that I remember playing on like the Master System are very few. I remember playing the Rambo First Blood Part 2. That was pretty rad. I guess. I mean, it was pretty cool. Honestly, the cooler stuff for the Master System, I never actually saw. I never saw the light phaser gun they had. I've never seen the 3D glasses that were made for the Sega Master System. Like this super old console came out in 86. I mean, it had 3D glasses. Like that sounds awesome. I mean, to me, it sounds awesome to me. The interesting thing about the 3D glasses, just to jump back to that, because that got so much attention, is because the interesting thing about it is how it worked, because it was really simulating 3D, right? Like all it was doing was rapidly opening and closing each eye of the 3D glasses on either side, just over and over really fast to create this shutter effect that, would be perceived as, three-dimensional. But a lot of people, if you had really good vision, if you're one of those people that can catch like frame rate drops and stuff, you would have seen it like flapping. You would have been able to see the black as it flat. Yeah. There were some games that, were supported by those 3D glasses, but only like one of them sounds cool. Like Missile Defense 3D sounds rad. Space Harrier 3D could have been rad. I mean, Space Harrier is a strange game.
I really like the only games that I played on Sega was Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Earthworm Gym.
Well, I think the reason for that, honestly, is because so let's jump back in time. So Master System, I was honestly too young. I wasn't born when it came out. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really experience it. I experienced Sega in the Genesis years. So in the Genesis years, I was very young. So young, we didn't have family video around. Like we weren't there yet. We had a small mom and pop shop that was a very small triangular building that was on the corner of a street, obviously. And it was a very small, just like mom and pop video store. It was interesting because it was not a chain. It was literally just some guys. It was like a little family or something. And it was a very, very small store, like super small. But it was, it looked like a weird video store with no brandings, and we would rent Sega games from there. I vividly remember that because we would rent, Toe Jam and Earl. We would rent things like that, Booger Man. Oh, that. So when I think Sega, I think Booger Man. Did you guys ever play Booger Man?
Can't say that I have.
Yeah, never heard of it. But just to clarify, how big was this video store?
Super tiny.
Oh no. I have. I just Googled it. Oh my. Yes, I did. I did play Booger Man.
It was like the grossest game.
Yes.
Your superpower was like flicking boogers and hawking loogies and stuff. And you would go through these disgusting levels of mucus and sludge. It was hilarious.
The toilets. Oh my God, yes. I remember this. Oh God, that was, yeah. I think I loved it because, I was a kid and I'm like, boogers are funny.
Exactly. Booger Man was terrific. It was super colorful, first of all. Lots of greens.
Definitely
Lots
of greens. Especially the forest. I'm looking out of that forest level with the creepy trees with faces. God.
Mm-hmm. And I think Booger Man was actually a special character in one of the Clay Fighters games, but I can't remember if that's true or not. So let's just say it is. But honestly,
it's tough to say. It's a slimy situation.
Exactly. So one of the things about Sega in the early days was Sega was, if I recall, a relatively large publisher in the arcade market, and they had a push to bring the arcade into the home experience. So a lot of the games on like Master System and even on the Genesis, a lot of them are arcade ports, which are designed to be super tough. So you keep putting in coins, So a lot of that stuff just turned me off because it's basically like Dark Souls, like you want to play this game where you get a bunch of ships and you fire 50 lasers across the screen and you turn into Iron Man with a fleet of Iron Man suits behind you. And then like one stray missile gets you and it's like game over. You got to start the whole dang thing over again. And I just can't. I can't do it. Like those side scrolling shooter games are huge, but I'm not the demographic for them.
Feel that. I 100% feel that because I really struggle with those too. And I do definitely know what you mean as far as the Sega games go, feeling like they are like ports from arcade style games. And so they're very difficult, like Mortal Kombat being one of them. My early days of playing Mortal Kombat were probably pre-systems. It was playing it at an arcade. And it's the first time you got to play a violent style fighter game like that was on an arcade machine.
Yeah. And it was always so cool, like you're young and you're looking up at this big arcade machine. Back then, it was just huge. It was massive. It was a building, and has all these colors, and it's playing the demo. You see Liu Kang like full bicycle kicking Raiden, and you want to do it. You want it, so you ask, "Can I have quarters?" And they're like, "I'm just going to ignore this little kid because I'm not giving him any quarters."
Well, the other part's hard is like you say, we didn't play it a whole lot because it was at the very beginning of us, kind of being born. And you're right. I mean, it released in the United States August 14th of 89 and was discontinued in 1999. So like it didn't run for a super long time for us to be like heavy into games. I think when we would have started playing Sega, there would have been new systems out, and it just happened to be a system that like an older relative happened to still have kind of laying around that we had to play.
Well, because like you said, it was released here in '89, and in '91 the Super Nintendo was released. So that's what we had growing up, was the Super Nintendo. The only reason I played the Sega was because that's what my uncle had, because he loved all that stuff, and that's what got me into Sonic and all that, and got me the Game Gears, because I was like, well, I want to play Sonic, but I'm not up there. And so, I got a handheld and they were cheap too. They weren't that bad.
The 400 pounds of batteries you needed for the Game Gear was where you dropped all the money.
It was all the D battery. You had to have like 8 D batteries in this thing to make it run. It was ridiculous.
It was a monstrosity of a handheld. It was a great handheld, but it was it's like as big as the Steam Deck.
It was good, but not great.
That's right. You know what was
Zing.
really, what was a great game on the Sega Genesis? It was a game called Haunting, starring Poltergeist. Does that ring any bells for you guys?
None whatsoever.
All right,
No.
let me give you some context to this story.
Paint a picture.
Let me put some paint on the canvas for you, and then I'll dry the brush off and really beat the devil out of it. So,
A little happy tree.
I'm a kid. I'm a little kid, right? I'm over at my grandparents' house one day. My grandpa's having a fire. He burned all kinds of stuff in the backyard. He was a farm boy. He would light anything on fire and burn it. It was a lot of fun. But he was also not very attentive, I guess, to what the kids were doing. He trusted the kids to do the right thing, which is a terrible idea when it comes to me, because I'll do the wrong thing 9 times out of 10. So I'm looking at the fire and I see this like object sticking out of it. I discern that it is a steel pipe. I'm like, well, this part's not in the fire, right? It should be fine. So I take both hands and I grab that steel pipe and I pull out of the fire and I singe the palms of both of my hands.
Ouch.
Okay, great. So I cry, freak out, whatever little kids do. And then I go home and I have my hands stuck in a bucket full of ice. That was the solution, just keep it iced. Just change the ice out every few hours. They'll be fine. So that day, my dad rented this game, Haunting, starring Poltergeist. And I remember he had a friend over. My brother was there, and they were all playing this game. And basically what it is you're this like ghost in this house. And I think you used to live in the house and you're dead, and they're selling the house and there's a new family, and you have to take over the furniture and like haunt them. Like you take the couch over and it like has teeth and you're trying to scare them out of the house. But if they see you, or there's ways that you can get killed, basically, then you go to hell and you have to fight your way out of hell to get back to the house and then continue your haunting endeavors. So it was honestly a lot of fun. It was great. It was kind of like Gary's Mob when you're playing hide and seek, but you're turning into objects. You know what I mean?
So I have to say, you asked if we knew what it was, and we both said no. And I had to Google it. I actually know exactly what game you're talking about. I never knew the name of it. So anytime I reference this game, I'm like old zombie haunt game or something like that on Google. I've never known the name. So I pull it up and I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, it was so great because you would walk into the little girl's room and you would like haunt her dresser or haunt the mirror, and like some image would come out, or the dresser would turn into this like horned barking dresser that was trying to eat her.
Yeah.
And
so like this game was super fun. It was super cool, and I wanted to play it, but my hands were burned. So I would be like, can I play it? And they'd be like, sure. They'd hand me the controller. I'd take my hands out of the ice and I'd have like 5 seconds before the pain was just too much, and I'd have to give them the controller back and stick my hands back in the bucket of ice. So I had this like torturous night of wanting to play, but I just couldn't because my hands hurt so bad. So I had to sit there all night and watch other people play and haunt this family.
I love the fact that this game is like, when you first start haunting this family, they're living like somewhere, and like you haunt them out of the house, but then ultimately you like follow them to their next house. Like, so then like move into like a bigger house and you're just following them, continuing to haunt this same family. So basically you're trying to like haunt them completely out of town.
That's hilarious. What's that move? What's that series of movies? What is it? The Conjuring. They made like 4 of them, and it was like a big story that was all tied together.
Oh, based off of the
like,
Warrens?
Yeah. What was it? What was that called? Was it start with an I?
I think The Conjuring is the ones based off the Warrens, because there's a few. Yeah, Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren. So that would be the Conjuring movies.
Are those the ones where the dude's like, I've got to go get my daughter out of the dead area, and he's like, put me in the dead sleep witch, and he goes to the other side, and there's like a bunch of like dead ghosts just sitting around the living room just chilling, and he's like, hey, we got to go back.
Are you talking about like the comedy style one with Michael J. Fox?
No, this is the real one. I know which one you're talking about. That one's called, I think, like Screamers or something, and that movie is amazing.
I think we have like 6 movies mixing together right now.
Screamers is great.
The Frighteners.
Yeah, Frighteners.
Frighteners with Michael J. Fox.
Yes, Frighteners.
So
Interception. It's the ones that start with an I.
Interception.
It's not Interception. It's not Interstellar and Inception mixed together.
You're talking about a horror movie.
It's a horror movie. Yeah. Insidious.
Okay.
Boom. Got it in one.
Yep.
Anyway, completely irrelevant to what we're talking about.
Gotcha.
Whatever.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, but the first one, when Patrick Wilson goes through all of that, he doesn't realize that he's like swapped places with this demon and he's stuck in like the dead land. So the way you were explaining it had me totally confused. But yeah, like he doesn't realize like he's being possessed and gets sucked into this like
he's in the dead world.
In the dead world, right? So like he's in this dead world and thinks he's defeated this demon, and he's like, ha ha ha. Next thing you know, it like pans out and it's the demon talking through his body, and he's like behind the eyes going, no, let me out.
But isn't like that whole series of movies, like isn't it the same demon chasing them the whole time? Like some nun or something? Isn't it some nun at the end?
I have not seen all of the Insidious ones, but I also know that the nun is part of the other series, The Conjuring.
Well, damn it, whatever. Now, I was thinking that one of those movies series was similar to that game where it's like the ghost just keeps following them for no reason, just to be a dick. I've always thought about like horror movies like that involve ghosts and stuff when like the lights flash. Like I just imagine the ghost is just invisible, just like flicking the switch up and down, just giggling to himself, like ha ha. And like he wonders why they don't just leave. Why haven't they left yet?
Yeah,
they're just sticking this out. Like he's just leaning against the counters in the kitchen, checking his ghost phone, just like knocking over pots and pans like a cat. Like that's what he does all day, just to fuck with people.
Yeah, I would.
You think they got pools going? Like if there's more than one in a building? Like, dude, I promise you, I can get Susan out way before you can get Rick out.
I hope so. Like, I wish Monsters Inc. was real, because then things would make a lot more sense.
It would. Who's saying it's not?
Ooh, that's true. Sully, don't get me. Don't get me, Sully.
Kitty. So I would still have to say, back to our topic of the Sega Genesis, which we have gone way off topic of.
Yeah, this is a video game podcast. That's right.
We're still kind of on topic because we're trying to, talk about a game. Now we're off
the haunted game, and we've just gone off topic into a horror story rant.
Yeah.
Into a 6-movie confusion.
Yeah. So if we bring it back in, bring her back home,
cast the line, pull you back in.
Yeah. So you guys say you played Sonic.
Love Sonic.
Do you ever remember actually beating Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis?
No.
Nope.
No, I don't remember ever beating. Honestly, I don't remember beating a Sonic game until they were on the Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah,
I remember just. I don't like. I feel like every time I would play, it was always on like a brand new game or something, because I felt like I was constantly playing those first 3 levels over and over and over again. Like my uncle was like, "Yeah, don't mess my save up here. Play on this save." And so I remember the first like 3 levels. I remember there was a time that I actually got to like the marble area, and like that was that's the furthest I remember getting. But I mean, I was also like, 6, 7. Like,
Yeah, specifically remember the chemical plant, and I remember there was like an ancient ruins.
yeah.
But I don't think I ever got past the ancient ruins when I was a kid. On any Sonic game, just assume that when you hit that level, that's where I got stuck.
I mean, it was a blast. I loved playing it.
Oh yeah.
And-
That was the thing about Sonic though. Like it really resonated with me when I was younger because I didn't care how far I was in. The levels that I played were fun.
Yeah.
Right.
I enjoyed turning, going the little ball form and just shooting across the screen and seeing how far I could get. Or
Yeah, because like back then, I mean, we didn't think about things in the same way we do now, where oh, we're gonna sit down and beat this game. It was just I'm gonna play this game.
Yeah.
There was no predetermined idea that what was gonna happen. Like it was whatever it was. This is completely brand new to me.
it's literally like how I am watching my kids now, where in my head, I'm like, Declan, you need to go up and down and you got to collect these coins. Like your little, iPad game, just move your character up and down. And he's like, look, Dad, I'm running into the wall. And I'm like, hey, great, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like mentally I've been trained like, to beat the game. But like, back in when I was his age, I didn't care. It was the same way. It was like, oh, look at me. I'm playing a game. This is a lot of fun. This is hitting that dopamine that I want.
Yeah. I really miss that innocence. What the best way to ruin a video game experience is nowadays? Look that game up on Reddit and read what people say on Reddit.
Yes.
Because you could like have a great idea in your head about the game, like, oh, this is like a really fun game. I'm so into it. I'm gonna go see what other people are saying. They're like, crap, shit, this part sucks. And you're like, oh man, they're kind of right about this one thing. And then it's just the whole thing just unravels.
And you're like, well, wait, yeah, I do hate that part. Wait, well, no, I hate this game.
Yeah, and eventually you're writing the developers hate mail, and you just stay away from it. Don't go to Reddit and read about games. Just play it yourself. The community doesn't matter until you've done everything and you just want to talk to people about the game. Because as soon as you start talking to people about the game on Reddit, I don't know, something happens. Something transforms and it just turns into a bad experience.
The worst.
You know what the Sega had that was really cool though was a couple of different attachments. I know I didn't have the Mega CD, but we did have the Genesis based power converter, which allowed you to play Master System games, which was pretty rad. I think there was another adapter that modified it to play 32-bit games, which is pretty cool.
They did have a modem.
Yeah, they had
the Sega
modem,
MegaNet.
Yeah, that really had potential, but I guess they didn't really want to release it in the US, so that caused a lot of developers for games to just not include it, because it was like, well, if you're not going to do anything with this, then we're not going to do anything with this.
Yeah.
You know what sounds cool though is the Sega Mega CD. Like this sounds awesome. Like it's this thing that you like hook the Sega into, and there's a big CD-ROM drive on the side of it that's a top loader, and you could play like music. And there was games made for the Sega CD. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Is that the concept of where then like the Sega Saturn came from? Because wasn't Saturn a CD-based system?
Saturn was a CD-based system. Yeah, that's probably a prototype for the Saturn for them.
Interesting. Outside of Sonic, I have to say that we were actually talking about this night coming home from the vineyard. We were talking about the Sega, and my wife brought up a couple games that she remembers playing, and really, like you said, never making it past like the first few levels. And one of these was because we were listening to Disney music on the way home. So actually both of these are related to that. So the Disney Aladdin game on Sega.
Oh, you the world.
But do you remember playing the game on Sega? Like you're like running through the streets.
I do not remember playing it on Sega. I do remember playing it on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I played the Aladdin game and I played the Lion King game all on Sega.
There you go.
I played them on Nintendo.
You beat me to the second one. That was the next one I was going to say.
I did play the Lion King on the Sega. Just
And
not
those being like the
Aladdin.
hardest games ever. Like that,
Yes.
that Lion King game was like impossible to get past like 2 levels.
The furthest I ever got on the Lion King game was when you're at the water hole. I could never jump up and get all the way up that thing ever. Never did.
Yeah, it's insane. Like literally some of the hardest games I've ever played were on Sega.
I think Aladdin, I always got stuck on the magic carpet level.
Yeah, I actually bought the Switch release of those games because, like, on the Switch, there's a dual cartridge that has the Aladdin and the Lion King game on it, and I can't beat like the first level on either one of them. It's ridiculous. Like I did the Lion King, you have to like jump off giraffes' heads and then swing on rhinos' tails.
Yes,
and it's
the
just mad.
The
it's
tails
madness.
are going, and it's like you try to grab it, and you miss every time.
Yeah,
it's like what the
monkeys are
heck?
throwing crap at you. It's such a pain.
You finally get it, and a monkey hits you, and you fall, and you're like, ah.
Yeah, unless you're using save states, I don't know. I mean, go watch somebody speed run it and then try it. I guess.
Speaking of watching a speed run, I recently watched a speed run of Sonic Spinball. Do you guys ever play that? The Sonic the Hedgehog pinball game?
Oh, I do remember playing Sonic Pinball.
So Sonic Spinball, because Sonic the Hedgehog is, and it's important because Sonic the Hedgehog is the pinball. Like he starts spinning really fast and you're hitting Sonic throughout the level, like as a pinball, and you're trying to collect the crystals and stuff.
I love that idea works so well because he just goes into a ball.
Yeah.
And it's just perfect.
Yeah. And I remember playing so much of this game. This is like one of my favorite games on Sega. And I recently watched a speed run because I was like, oh, I want to watch this and see like what looks familiar to me. And he gets through like the first 2 levels. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally remember this game. He hits like zone 3 of like the levels of pinball. And I'm like, I've never seen this before. And then he's on like zone 4, 5, 6. I'm like, wow, I was never very good at this game.
Yeah. I actually do remember this game. I had it for the Game Gear. And yeah, I was not good at it either.
But I never remember feeling like, oh, I hate this game. It's so hard. Like, I remember just like we're talking about, like you just played it to have fun. You're like, oh, I'm playing Sonic Pinball. Like if you had to die and start over, you're like, oh, dang, well, I'll see if I can just beat my high score from last time and make it further. Like you're excited to challenge yourself versus being like, this sucks. I've been stuck grinding this same area for 2 hours and can't make it anywhere.
Yeah. You know what a kind of more of a strange game that I actually really loved on the Sega was, and I don't know what you do in it. I don't know what the objectives are, and I don't know what the ending is because I just don't know what you do. But it's called Echo the Dolphin. You play as a dolphin and you swim around in the water and you're just a dolphin. I don't know what the hell the game's about, but I know that if you hit a button, you like sprint and you can splash out of the water and then splash back down. You do like a big dolphin dive. And that's basically all I did when I was a kid. And they added it to the Switch Sega Online, and that's all I do now as an adult. I have no idea what that game is about still, but I played it for like 20 minutes the other day, and I was just splashing out of the water and splashing back down. I was like, this is great.
I've never heard of that game, nor have I played it.
It's a strange one.
There is one that I played. It was another one that I remember playing a lot of. It was a side-scrolling game. Was Donald Duck's Quick Shot.
That's that audio clip that came out when we were in high school, right?
Wait, what? The towel one?
Yeah.
No. The don't move, I'll go get a towel.
Yeah.
That is not from this video game.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
This was like a level-based game where you're Donald Duck and you're carrying weapons. You had this little like plunger gun and you're just working your way through the levels like a Indiana Jones style game.
Pete chasing you.
Yeah. You guys don't remember playing that? You never played that?
No.
That was another one.
Like I said, I am very limited on my Sega games.
Yeah. Well, I just noticed something. So in preparation for this episode, I busted out this
H.
What?
Preparation H for this episode?
Yeah. For preparation H of this episode, I creamed everything up, and then I busted out this Sega Genesis. It's the mini Sega. I bought it at Target a while ago. It's got like 30 something games on it, or no, it's got 40 games plus 2 bonus titles. So I don't know why it just doesn't say there's 42 games on here. I don't know why they had to put math equations on things. But yeah, it's got this many games plus this many games. You figure it out. But well, I was looking at the Sonic games, and down at the bottom here, it's got Sonic Spinball, and then it's got Sonic, and then Sonic 2. I don't know why they don't put Sonic 3 on here. Okay, that leads me to something.
Ooh.
This mini Sega is really cool. It comes with 2 controllers. It's really cool how it's a replica of the system. It's got the volume controls on it for your headphones. The reset button works, blah, blah, blah. It's cool. But why are there only 40 plus 2 bonus title games on this system? Why are there only 40 games? Why on the classic NES and the classic SNES are there only like 30 games? Why aren't there 100 games on these?
Yeah. I mean, they definitely have the technology to put them all on there.
Like, put the 40 plus 2 bonus games on there and then just throw 70 crappy ones on there. I don't care. There's enough on there to put more on there. I just want more options.
I totally agree. I've never understood why they do that either. Like, I don't know if it's like licensing, because it's like, oh, we as Sega own these titles. So after we produce this system, we don't have to pay anybody but ourselves. But if you start adding these other companies, it's like, oh, well, now we have to pay you a portion because to pay you royalties or whatever it may be. Or, oh, you're going to argue that the Sega sold more systems because your title was on the Sega.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like red tape and politics that go into it, but that's an argument that I've had about a lot of these, classic systems and the classic like online systems. It's like with the Switch. Just come on, guys. Does it really take 2 months to put out one new SNES game and 2 special versions of previously released SNES games that are just those games, but at the end?
Yeah.
Right. Especially when you know that there are games that people speed run in a matter of like minutes. So it's like, obviously the code is not that advanced. It shouldn't take 2 months for you to port an SNES or a Genesis game to computer. Like,
yeah. If I can put the entirety of the SNES library on a flash drive, come on, guys.
Right. Figure it out.
So this is not going to be a hard question. What do you guys think their number 1 game was?
For Genesis?
Yeah.
I would personally like to say Booger Man. I know it's not it's not right, but I'm gonna say Booger Man because he deserves more respect.
He gets no respect.
I would have to assume it's Sonic the Hedgehog.
It is Sonic the Hedgehog because it was a pack-in at 15 million. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at 7.55 million.
I mean, Sonic was great. I mean, they had some issues. That's the thing is classic Sega Sonic was like golden age prime Sonic. Like, I love Sonic Adventure 2, but I hate Sonic Adventure 1. And then there's a lot of Sonic that happens in between Sonic Adventure 2 and now, and not a lot of it is good. There's a whole lot of shaky bits in between. Like, I have Sonic Generations on my Game Boy DS. That's the one where you play as like the Sega Sonic, but also like the newer like Dreamcast Sonic. It's like a multiverse kind of thing or timeline thing. I don't know. But that's like it's a mix of the classic Sonic and the newer Sonic. And that's like, okay. But then there was like that Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Forces. There's 100 Sonic games you guys have probably never heard about. There was that one. I think Sonic Unleashed was the one where there was like a werewolf Sonic.
You got me on all of these, man, because I know Sonic, on there and then to the Dreamcast and pretty much nothing in between. I just assumed they just didn't make Sonic games from the Sega until the Dreamcast.
Yeah, we talk about how great the movie is, though, of Sonic.
I actually do love that movie, and I'm really excited for the sequel.
I'm so excited for the second one. The first one was amazing. I did not think it was going to be that good. I went into it expecting nothing and fell in love with it.
I have to watch it because you guys have mentioned that, and I still have not seen that because the previews just didn't do it for me. I was like, this is going to be terrible. Absolutely terrible. And then
the main reason I went and actually watched it, like rented it and watched it, was because the studio actually listened to the feedback when they came out with the first trailer, and Sonic looked like a deformed hedgehog, which just did not look right, and everybody had a conniption fit. They actually stopped, redid everything, and re-released a new version of Sonic, and that earned my respect, and that's why I went and watched it. I mean, I honestly think that's why it did as good as it did, because everybody's like, holy crap, they actually listened to the fan base.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the Sonic movies is that you can feel the progression, right? Like they're not trying to say this is like a mutated like freak hedgehog that gained super speed when he came into contact with Barry Allen one day, you know? Like it's he is from a different place, and he's got these magic rings that open teleport portals up, and he can just go places. That works. We don't need to know how or why. He just is. He doesn't need to look like he's from Earth, because he's not. And I like that. You know, this is not spoilers. This isn't you see this stuff in the trailer, but like I really like how they made the rings make sense. I mean, to an extent, I think they did make sense. I liked it because it felt like a movie, but there was scenes that felt like levels in the Sonic game. Yeah, and there's little stuff like he's eating chili dogs in some scenes, which is a classic throwback because Sonic loves chili dogs.
I just absolutely loved Jim Carrey in the role as well as Dr. Robotnik.
Yeah.
Like he's perfect.
It's great. And you think that, oh well, you know, he doesn't look like Dr. Eggman from the games.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, if you see the trailers for the new movie, he does now. And I was watching some interviews, and he was actually pushing to be the fat Robotnik. He wanted the fat suit. He wanted the mustache to be even bigger.
That would have been amazing.
He was pushing for all this stuff, but they were like, let's not go that big. But like, if Jim Carrey had his way, I bet he would be in a giant fat suit with a giant mustache, like 3 times as big as what he's rocking right now.
I mean, let's look back into his career. That man woke up every day at the crack of dawn to get painted bright green.
Yeah.
to do every scene of the Grinch. Like that is painted on him. He's painted and furred every day and would film as long as possible in that suit, take it all off, and do it again the next day.
Yeah, I read about some of the stuff he had to go through with the contacts that he had to wear for that movie, about how painful it was. Oh boy.
But he was committed.
That's committed, man. Yeah, that's commitment.
Like, I don't think he's a method actor, but pretty damn close. Is like, if this is my character, I'm going to be in character. I'm going to do this the whole time. Like I'm going to nail it.
Yeah. It's like in Batman. I think Batman Forever, you know, like the Riddler annoyed Tommy Lee Jones so much that he wanted to just leave. But at the same time, he kind of makes the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Because like his weird, campy, silly, over the topness, like really balances out with Tommy Lee Jones over the top weird silliness as well. Because I mean, Tommy Lee Jones was a freaking weirdo in that movie too. How long has been since you guys seen this movie? Because I was watching it the other day and I forgot, like, they really pushed that Two-Face thing, because he's got his apartment, half of it is like white and half of it is black, and he's got one chick in a white dress and one chick in a black dress, and they put his cigarette in both sides of his mouth, and one is black and one is white.
Jesus, it's been a while since I've seen it. I'm gonna have to go watch it now.
It's been a while too, but I can only imagine. Like, I remember vividly some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you know, love them or hate them, those movies were really comic book movies. You know, they looked like a comic book.
Yeah,
bright neons. Anyway, Sega. I'm sorry, I keep doing this.
Well, it's because we got on topic of the Sonic movie, but back to the Sonic timeline that we were talking about. So yeah, there was Sonic Generations, Sonic CD, which I'm not familiar with, Sonic Colors.
That's on the Saturn. Yeah.
Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic Boom, and then you had Sonic Advanced, Sonic Chronicles, Sonic Sega All-Star Racing, Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, So again, none of these that I've heard of. The first one I heard of since then was the Wii Sonic of the Secret Rings. I do remember that one coming out on the Wii. And then again, I don't recall anything pretty much after that, like Sonic and the Black Knight.
I feel like we're going to get a lot of flack for not having a bunch for the Sega because we didn't play it.
I mean, I think people will understand, look, hey, we're in our early 30s, timeline wise, 88, 89 birth years. I mean, it is what it is. I have a lot of great memories with the Sega, but I don't have a lot of memories with the Sega as I do like the 64.
Yeah.
Because my brain wasn't developed, as much.
Some would argue our brains still aren't developed.
Somehow I still just very much remember playing so much Sonic the Hedgehog, like for not playing a whole lot of Sega and never even owning a Sega.
I mean, it was the number one sold game. It makes sense.
I mean, yeah, but just feeling like I played so much of it, or even the Mortal Kombat games, because I know that's where I first played Mortal Kombat was on the Sega, like so much Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I actually remember borrowing Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate or whatever from the people that lived behind me over that wire fence that Miko used to jump all the time.
Yeah,
like it was the house with those girls that lived in that house, and like eventually like they would cause trouble with us years later because they ended up not being as cool as us. But but their brother, I think, had Mortal Kombat 3 and he let us borrow it, and we ended up just keeping it. But I remember playing that a lot. I would be remiss if I didn't mention there's two games on the Sega that we, of course, we played that I just thought about, and they are Mutant League Football and Mutant League Hockey.
Yes, that was Sega that those were on.
Yeah, that was Sega.
Oh my God. Mutant League Football was absolutely amazing. Like, I feel like they've never made another game like it that I can recall playing, but I remember we played so much Mutant League Football, like just this football where you're playing as like skeletons or werewolves or some other sort of like creature, and there's landmines and stuff all over the football field.
Yeah, it was so fun. And hockey was the same.
You will be happy to know that Mutant League Football actually is out on the PlayStation 4. Mutant League Football Dynasty Edition.
I might have to find that.
They did remake that. I will buy that. If you buy that, I'll buy it. We can play it online together.
It's actually oh. It's on the Switch and Nick can get a hard copy.
Oh. Yeah, you let me know what platform you would better enjoy it on. I will totally play that online with you.
Yeah, right now, GameStop, 1999, Mutant Football League Dynasty Edition, Nintendo Switch, Nighthawk Interactive.
Wait, it says so platform. It says Switch, PS4, Xbox One, Microsoft Windows.
Ooh,
can we get it on,
maybe
like,
it's on
Game Pass? Game Pass.
By the way, podcast listeners, this is literally how we end up playing games together.
It is.
We're like, oh, that game. Oh, I'd totally play that if you played it. Okay, yeah, I'll play it. Like that's exactly what happened with Borderlands.
This is what happened
Tiny
with
Tina's Borderlands.
That or Project Zomboid. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. Where like one person's interested, and it's like, oh well, we only all have limited time to play, so at least let's play with that limited time and play all together, so we can have fun and have something to talk about later. Definitely. So it shows it's on Mutant League Football League on Steam. This says Steam.
Really?
Oh, did it say Windows is in like it's on PC as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mutant League Football, $14.99 on Steam.
Oh,
Look at that. If you guys want to challenge the gamers getting older at some Mutant League Football, let us know on Twitter.
Definitely. Because I used to be a champ at this. We definitely played so much of this game. Again, one of those games that like I feel like I played so much of, but I never owned a Sega. So like I don't even know where I played these games. Like I remember playing them, but this would have been before Nick and I were friends. I mean, we've known each other pretty much our whole lives, but the Sega was the one system that him and I never played together.
It was.
I was going to say, would you play it at his house after you guys went to the sketchy video store on the corner?
It was probably, and every episode we have to mention him. It was probably Mike.
I don't know because Mike's not that much older than me. There's only 4 years between us.
He's still old.
4 years makes a difference, I guess, you know?
It could have been his Sega. You're right. One of these days we'll know.
Scholars maintain that this information was lost ages ago.
So we've talked about this with a few of the systems. How many units do you think they sold of the Sega Genesis?
Oh, I don't know. The Genesis, I feel like the Genesis was more popular than the Master System because it was, I mean, I think if you look at the numbers by the numbers, the Genesis was honestly a more powerful system than the Super Nintendo. Let me try that again. The Sega was legitimately, I think, more powerful hardware wise than the Super Famicom.
The Super what?
No, that's what it's called in Japan, the Famicom.
Oh.
I thought you had a stroke.
I figure if I use less words, there's less chance of me fucking it up.
I'm like, this man just went dyslexic in his brain and it came out that way.
It's on the Super Famicom.
Oh man.
Well, just because
that's possible. I don't know.
Just because like when I asked about, the best selling game and it was Sonic the Hedgehog at 15 million, I'm going to add a little bit and say like 25 million.
Are you guessing too? Like, have you not scrolled down and looked?
No, I know.
Cheater.
Okay.
So
because I don't know.
Okay. So Brennan's saying 25 million.
I'm gonna say 20 million.
It was 30.75 million. So more than half of the Segas were due to Sonic the Hedgehog.
My Price is Right rules, I'm the closest. Didn't go over.
Yeah, and if you recall, I believe that's more units sold than the GameCube.
Yeah, I don't remember how many GameCubes were sold.
I think it was, no, not GameCube, not GameCube. I think it was GameCube or Wii. I think it was Wii. I don't know, but it was like 21 million or something, wasn't it?
I don't know. We talk about this all the time, but I don't remember what they are.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see that these numbers on the system, during this age and time, putting up numbers that are better than systems that are made later that, obviously push graphics to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even so, the Sega Dreamcast, like we talk about it being such a great system and short-lived. The Dreamcast was the next system after the Genesis as far as like timeline goes. I know there were some other things in between, but like with it being discontinued in 99 and the Dreamcast coming out in 99, but then us feeling like the Dreamcast was such a better system and like a system that was so short-lived. I mean, it only sold 9.17 million units. I mean, it was 30% of the Dreamcast, or sorry, the Genesis.
Yeah, and think about what it could do compared to the Genesis.
Yeah, and it still had Sonic. So it's like, it's not like Sonic just sold the Genesis. I mean, there was something about that system that just drew people in that the Dreamcast and other Sega systems didn't.
Honestly, I think when you're talking about that situation, I mean, the PlayStation, like Sony's PlayStation 1 and 2 were so powerful back then. I mean, the PlayStation 1 ran out of the gate and just destroyed things. And then the PS2 just, ran amok during that time and was just so good.
Yeah, I mean, these early systems didn't really have a lot, competing wise with each other. I mean, you think back then, you went from like, you had like the Atari with like Pong. And then, as you moved on, you started getting these games that, the graphics and everything. So, I mean, at the time, these things were huge and you didn't have a gaming system in every house. And so once you started getting these, everybody was buying them because it was the new and best thing. And then you start getting later on, with the Dreamcast and the Xbox. And there's so many different systems now that, like Nick said, with the PlayStation being such a powerhouse, most people bought that. Most people bought, the Xbox, at the time 64 and all that. I mean, those were the massive in-home, systems.
Well, it's crazy to think too, because if you think about the systems like Nintendo and Sega and all the ones during that time using just a cartridge-based system, it was a pretty even playing field. And we
Yeah.
noticed the transition of the takeoff when we move into the age of CDs, with the Dreamcast being having great potential but not quite getting there. But then you have PlayStation, Xbox that they hit that era, at the start of the CD age and just ran with it. And it seemed that's where there was all of a sudden this huge landslide as far as companies that were taking off of the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Sega is an impressive company regardless. I mean, you're talking 1992 for the Mega CD. So in 92, the Sega Genesis add-on was running video games on CD format in 92, and then the Sega Saturn came out in 95, which is right around the place. I think the PlayStation 1 came out in 95, 96.
I think it's just crazy. Like, I know I mentioned it earlier, but to think the SNES and the Sega had a console war back in the early 90s. Like, I mean, that
It was
we don't
Mario
think, like,
versus Sonic,
yeah, like now our console war now would be, Xbox, PlayStation, or, PC console type stuff. But like, I can't wrap my brain around that it at one point in time, it was Nintendo and Sega. Like, they were the two big honchos on the market. And it's insane to me.
So the
Yeah.
PlayStation released December 3rd of 94.
It was 94.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, and I think if you put the Sega Saturn next to the PlayStation 1, I think the PlayStation 1 wins. I mean, the library is much better. And honestly, the Saturn honestly felt very obscure to me. I remember when I was younger, my friend tried to get me to trade him like a bunch of random stuff for his Sega Saturn. And I almost did it, but I was like, you know what? No, I don't even think Film Video has Sega Saturn games to rent. So I don't really want to buy the games because I can't. But the funny thing about the Saturn is like if you collect Sega Saturns nowadays, there's the battery for the motherboard. I think it's the CMOS on the motherboard. I guess that battery goes out like every year. So you have to replace that battery every year if you're playing it. Even if you're
Terrible.
not playing it, the battery still drains. So if you go out and buy a used Saturn, you're probably going to have to replace that battery, which it's just a watch battery, but it erases your saved game data when it happens. So it's like, geez Louise.
I mean, that right there would make me not want it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I've got this great save, and it's like, yeah, look, you can come over and check it out. Oh no, my battery died. Everything's gone. Oh, sure, you had a good save.
Yeah.
Right.
The Sega Saturn.
My battery died.
The Saturn had some cool stuff. So like it had the top loader disk drive, but it also had a slot in the back for a cartridge. And you would think that you could put like Sega games in there, but you cannot. It was actually kind of like the 64. It was a memory expansion. So you could expand it so that it could run more intense games, and run other games better. There's also like nowadays there's modded cartridges that you can put in that do modified things so that you can, obviously do a lot more with your Saturn nowadays. I mean, modding things, you can do a whole lot of stuff, but I guess the cartridge you can buy, it's like some retro active cartridge or something. You could look up Sega Saturn mod cartridges, but I think that takes care of the work you have to do. So there's some like soldering you have to do on the board. And if you use the cartridge, you don't have to. So I think that's pretty cool, but also irrelevant. What I was going to talk about was the fact that that was the system that Panzer Dragoon started on.
Didn't play that either.
I didn't play that on that system. I played Panzer Dragoon Orta on the Xbox. I remember watching Rain of Fire with my dad and playing Panzer Dragoon. Like my mom took my sister and went on some cheerleading escapade in the van, and we stayed home and went to the bread store down the street and spent like $10 and got like 50 of those little Debbie apple pies, back when they were like super cheap and I could eat gluten. Yeah. And we sat inside and ate chocolate pies and apple pies and played Panzer Dragoon Orta and watched Rain of Fire like 10 times. And it was great. Panzer Dragoon. So what it is it's an on-rail shooter. but you are on the back of a dragon basically, and it shoots, and the dragon is what you shoot from. It's like shooting balls of fire and stuff, and it's really cool. So you're like riding on the back of this dragon, and you can move like in an area. It's just a shooter, but it's super fun. And I just have a lot of really great memories playing that with my dad when I was younger. So I was actually happy when they came out with a Panzer Dragoon remake on the Switch. So I got that. But that's where it started. So hey, cool to that. The only other thing I know about the Sega Saturn is that the Resident Evil 1 version that was released on the Sega Saturn had a special version of the Hunter. It was like a reskinned Hunter in the tunnels after Enrico gets killed. Spoilers.
Oh no.
But
I hadn't finished it yet. I was almost done.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. It's got some stupid name, but it's basically just a hunter with like red skin. But that's the only difference, and that's really the extent of my Sega Saturn knowledge.
So that's crazy to me because you're talking about the Saturn. I didn't even realize the Saturn was a disc-based console. That's how little I knew about the Saturn, nor the fact that it essentially came out a month before the PlayStation, and I'd never really heard of it. So like somewhere it was like a marketing hiccup or something, because like I remember wanting a PlayStation and seeing the PlayStation commercials. I don't ever recall seeing like, hey, come buy a Sega Saturn.
Well, the Sega Saturn logo was kind of scary because it was like a blue head with like silver wrapped around it, and it would be like Sega, and then like it would like fuse into this weird blue head, and it was just creepy. Like if you look at the commercial, it's just kind of creepy.
Now I gotta know. Like just a Sega Saturn commercial?
What in the hell?
What is this? Are you watching the It's Out There launch commercial? Yeah, my mom was changing the channel if this was on.
Yeah, I think it was their marketing. Because the thing with the Sega Saturn was it actually put out some pretty impressive graphics. But I mean, I just didn't know about it.
Yeah, me either. Which watching this commercial, I can totally understand why. We're 50 seconds in before they even mention Sega Saturn. Starts out like a horror movie. All right, I can't watch any more of it, but this is absolutely amazing. Like that is the most ridiculous commercial ever. For those listening, the Sega Saturn, It's Out There 1995 launch commercial in HD on YouTube.
Sega Saturn.
Yeah. If you skip to the end, you'll see the logo thing.
Oh, damn it. I just closed it. No.
Yeah, the ending should have the weird logo thing.
Just the wildest thing. Yeah, that's
It's out there. Yo, it's definitely out there.
And honestly, I appreciate Sega getting weird. I like it when people get weird with stuff.
Ow. Get freaky. I think that was weird. That was wow.
Good. Not great.
Yeah. I think looking at that stuff and like going through the troubles of the Sega Dreamcast, like knowing it's a good system, but people just aren't buying it. I think they made a good decision to step back and just make games and publish games and just focus on games, because Sega's always put out fun games. And it's like, why even have the hassle of trying to compete in this console market? We know we can make money off of all these games. We can make 500 Sonic games, and like if 2 of them are good, then we'll keep our fan base.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, it's very true that that's all they really needed to do to stay in business was make Sonic. I mean, they found their one niche of games or character that was going to carry their brand, and Sonic definitely was it.
Can we talk about the 3D pad though for the Sega Saturn? Like I'm looking at it right now. The controller, it looks like a compact disc with buttons on top of it, like a compact disc player.
Yeah, I've seen that controller, but it actually has a joystick, right?
It's got a joystick. It's got a D-pad, but it's got an XYZ ABC, the start button with the D-pad and a Joy-Con.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's one of those weird controllers, like that chainsaw Xbox controller you can get from the Gears of War collection or whatever.
Yeah.
Or no, it's a GameCube controller from Resident Evil 4, and it's a chainsaw. I forgot about that controller. It's a really cool controller.
They come up with some wild stuff. with ways to make controllers to upsell the marketing on a video game.
Yeah.
The only thing that would have made the Sega Saturn sell more is if they made it in atomic purple. That's why 9 times out of 10, Nintendo's going to win every time.
It's out there. Sega Saturn.
Right? Just such a weird commercial. But hey,
On that note,
Sonic was great. I mean, they had that. Sonic was great. And there's still something about the original Sega that will always just be like a memory that I feel like I played so much of it. And for all I know, it was a blip. Like I may have played all of those games in like a weekend and never played them again. Like, but somehow they're burned in my memories as being this just amazing time that I had all of the time as a younger child.
like we didn't talk about it much, but I mean, Earthworm Gym, I loved that game. Absolutely, like without a doubt, that game was amazing.
Yeah, you
just
pull
a
yourself
worm.
and you pull yourself out of the suit and like throw your own body
to pull yourself across or swing across the chasm.
I think I played that on the Super Nintendo though.
Yeah, I rented it on the Super Nintendo, but the first time I played it was on my Game Gear.
I've never played it on Sega before, so I was very confused when I think they released Earthworm Gym on the Sega collection on the Switch. So I didn't even know it came out on Sega. So I was like, oh, this is weird. Did they mess up? Is this in the wrong app?
I remember playing it on Sega originally and it being a very fun game. That and Toe Jam and Earl.
Yes. So I was going to say the other game that I played a lot of besides Sonic would be Toe Jam and Earl. I remember playing the crap out of it. That was back when we had those controllers. All the cords were frayed right at the end of the controller, so you had to like make sure you didn't bend it a certain way, or else it would disconnect. And there was always like electrical tape wrapped around it.
Because you know what game developers didn't realize back then, that when you go to store those things, you were going to unplug and wrap the cord for the controller around the controller.
Yeah, and you just destroy it every time.
Yeah. That by the time, a couple of years go by, it's permanently braided inside of itself, inside the rubber thing. And then right at the connector at the controller is just split wires everywhere. Like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about the sparks. Yeah. It's okay.
It would keep working though. That sucker would keep working.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. I totally remember controllers looking like that. And thank God for wireless these days.
Yeah. I remember when Toe Jam and Earl 2 came out. That was called Toe Jam and Earl Panic on Funkatron. And I remember my dad was actually really excited about it. I think we rented it from the video store that was inside of Schnucks. I don't know if it had a name, but there was a video store that existed inside of Schnucks at one point, and I think we rented it from there. It's where the hair place is now, inside Schnucks. Yes, there used to be a video game store there. I remember going there with you and your dad. Yeah.
I remember being tucked right there where that hair salon is.
Yeah. Yeah, video stores used to be a real thing.
Yeah, and it just popped up anywhere, apparently. That's definitely one that was past my memory. I didn't remember that, but now that you say it, I vividly remember going there. Because we either went there, because obviously on the weekends, every weekend, Nick's dad went to Schnucks. So like we just counted on going to Schnucks with his dad to like get our frozen pizzas and get whatever cool snacks we were gonna have for the weekend to play video games. And we either stopped at Filling Video, or for the long time of that being in Schnucks, I remember we would go to Schnucks and get the games from there, because it was like a one-stop shop. We were coming to get snacks anyways.
Right.
The good old days, man.
Mm-hmm. And what's funny is when we got older and that place had closed and we were more independent and we were like skateboarding, we were rebels. We would still go with him to the store, but we would just stay out in the parking lot and skateboard while he went inside and did his shopping.
Yep. But we were still like, hey, can you pick us up this? And he had his list. Yeah. He'd come out with all of our snacks still. We were just the cool kids. We didn't have to go in to get our own snacks anymore.
Yeah. He was a good dad. He always made sure that we had what we needed.
Yeah. We always had a good case of soda, a couple Jack's pizzas, like some bags of chips. Dude, we were we were always set up for the weekend.
Oh yeah, man. I don't even talk to me about the Canadian Bacon Jack's pizzas.
Oh, the best. So they actually don't sell Jack's pizzas where I'm at in North Carolina. I can't find a Jack's pizza.
Oh man.
It's so upsetting because I really was like craving one the other day. I went to the store just assuming they would be there, and nothing comes close to it. It's pretty upsetting.
You're gonna need to get like a black market pizza going on.
Yeah. Like cheap pizza, deliver it to me, please. I'll give you good beer and whiskey.
Just set up a PO box and we'll ask fans to send Jack's pizzas.
The best way to show your love to an old gamer is send them a Jack's pizza.
Yeah. Just check the PO box often.
Yeah.
Get real sad music playing.
Set my PO box in like a free deep freezer or something. A meat locker.
Real sad music playing. Do you know a gamer who's in need? Do you know a gamer that could use a Jack's pizza?
Every 52 cents a month.
Every year, 47 people go without Jack's pizza.
You can be the difference.
Yeah.
For 52 cents a month, you can provide 12 Jack's pizzas. That's one each month for a gamer. Again, we are way off topic.
We usually are.
Well, the thing about the Sega is like we talked about, the Dreamcast is the Sega system that I really fell in love with. Like these other systems that, these are I've just played them, like Comic Zone, super fun. Did you guys ever play Comic Zone?
Nope, never played that either.
So Comic Zone is about a guy.
Is this another dolphin game?
No dolphins. Some water, no dolphins. So it's this comic book artist. He's drawing a comic book, but the villain of his comic book comes to life and draws him into the comic book and takes his place outside and starts drawing the comic book. So now you're stuck inside the comic book and you have to fight whatever he's drawing. So he's kind of like the page master. But when you finish, and the game looks like it's in a comic book. So when you get to the end of a panel, you like punch through the panel and go to the next panel, or like climb through a hole and drop down to the panel below, or like, and then like when you finish a level, like the page turns, like it's really cool. It's all set up to look like a comic book. It's kind of rad.
Yeah, that sounds pretty sweet. I've definitely never played that.
No,
but you always played the weirdest games compared to us. The games that nobody's heard of. But that game actually sounds really fun. I'm trying to think was there Castlevania on Sega?
Yeah, I think Castlevania might have started on Sega, or at least I know there's a lot of Castlevanias on Sega.
Because again, like you said, I didn't play a whole lot of this outside of a few games, but for some reason I feel like I also played Castlevania on the original Sega.
Castlevania
Genesis.
Bloodlines was on the Genesis.
On the Genesis. I feel like I remember playing it too. Not very well, I might add, but I remember playing it. Yeah, well, I mean, outside of that, I don't have a whole lot else for the Sega. I mean, really for me, it was Sega and Sonic, with a little bit of sprinkled violence with Mortal Kombat, but for the most part, it was Sega and Sonic playing on the Genesis.
Yeah, and if it wasn't those things, it was us trying to get to the secret hula hoop girl level in Toe Jam and Earl.
Yes, yes.
And we would just sit there and drink lemonade and chill in the hot tub for like an hour because we thought that was the shit.
We found the secret level on Toe Jam and Earl. That's right. And it had such vibe and music.
It was
like
chill,
it
man.
sounded like just a little party. You were just like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and
like,
if you
look what we did.
If you stood close to the hula hoop girls, you would start doing the dance too.
Yeah. Toe Jam and Earl just boogieing down.
That was a great game because all the villains were like a chick with her kid in a shopping cart, and her hair was all crazy, and she was just coming for you. Or there was like a little Cupid devil, or there was like literally a baby Cupid with wings, with like shooting heart arrows at you that would like mess up your controls. You would fall off the level and fall to the previous level, or if you missed that one, you would keep falling. And if you both fell off the same platform, you would land, and then you would see the shadow of the other person. And your character would look up and just get squashed by the other dude when he landed. Toe Jam and Earl was so fun. Yeah,
That
it
was such a
great.
really fun game. Just a really goofy, really fun game.
Like your characters would fall asleep, you have to mash the buttons to wake up, and then like yell "wake up" on the screen a bunch of times.
Yes.
Question for you guys. How long does it take to beat a Sega game backwards? Ages.
Wow.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Gamers Getting Older.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there with that kind of dad joke. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Gamers Getting Older and on Twitter at Gamers Getting Old.
Until next time.
You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go Mac, right? Like,
Do it, baby.